So I'm on day 2 of the experiment with the backup refrigeration. What I've done here is I've disconnected the refrigerator from the batteries. It was charging down. You can see that it's got down to 0 or something like that. It made my ice hard. But I disconnected it just to let the voltage come back down. I'm seeing about 12.2 on my battery bank, so it's a little more than I anticipated for the day. What I plan on doing now is to turn on this PowerMax supply. And let me just rotate it around. And on it, it's got settings of 13.2, 13.8, and 14.6 is the voltage it reads. Again, this is a sort of an RV grade power supply. It's got a couple fuses, a fan outlet. I wired in these two 6-gauge wires, or 4-gauge wires, going to the battery. It's got a fan on the back end. I don't have it hooked up to the generator today. I'm just going to hook it up to AC power. Hopefully I can see. That's my kilowatt. So when I flip the switch up, what I expect it to do, I drew a little chart here for the heck of it, is that this is going to be the DC current, or what I'm going to measure is the AC watts that would have to be produced by the generator to cover the power supply. And then you're going to rapidly see the voltage come up to a certain level, and that's going to kind of level out, and eventually it's going to get up to that 14.6, 14.7, at which time the amperage is going to start to come down. I expect that because this is a 2-stage, this PowerMax, I drove in some dotted lines where cheaper, smaller ones, sort of like my battery tender, I do have a battery tender hooked up, and I'll show you that real quick, would drop straight down to its float voltage, or final voltage. But since this is a sort of a 3-stage, I'm going to expect that it'll drop down that voltage to 13.6, 13.8 at some point in time. And as the current drops, and of course this will be capacity that'll be available in my generator at that time. But I'm really looking at the bulk stage where it's going to, I apply my maximum voltage amperage going in, and the voltage starts to rise up to that peak point, and the battery's getting charged. I do have some lines down here. This is at a steady state, non-charged state, and 12.7 is pretty much a charged battery. And I'm down at 12.2-ish, so I'm going to start to come up rapidly, or slowly, and then even slower is when you get that bulk beyond the, until you get out to the float charge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this video into a few parts. Probably come back every half an hour or so and just see where the charge is at. I expect that it would be, an hour and a half to charge this or something like that. But let me go ahead and throw my switch and see what kind of, you hear the power side come on, and it ramps right up to that 750 range, 730 range. You'll see the voltage coming up at the battery terminal leads for charging. I came up really rapidly to this 12.7, and now it's going to continue on, so there's not a lot to watch. What I've got, I guess I'll show you real quick. On this battery tender, I have it hooked up to an old sort of dead battery, but this is what it will float at, because it's in the float stage. I can easily remove the battery tender, and let me plug it back in. The way the battery tender works, it'll ramp right up to about 14.4, 14.5. Of course, the battery tender is just a junior. It's less than 1 amp at 750 milliamps, or 0.75 amps. And this will ramp up. And the way the battery tender works, it probably goes up to about 14.4 or 14.5. And it'll flip over to this blinking green light. And then it goes for 15 minutes. And then it turns flat green, and it goes back to that float voltage. But of course, if the if the battery wasn't full, it would ramp it up at a very slow rate, because it's less than 1 amp for that little battery tender junior. I'm still sitting 730 here. I was taping a few more minutes just to see when this fan kicks in. I can start to smell a little bit of, smells like 55 amps in there. Smelling a little bit. I'm hoping this fan kicks on. Usually it kicks in within a few minutes, just so we can hear what the fan sounds like. So anyways,